Every
since we've
time.
been doing this to people for at a pretty large scale for several years now.
Millions of
blockers
kids
and
have been on hormone blockers. Really?
My guess is that we're into the millions now at this point. Yeah.
It says over the last 5 years, there were at least 4,780 adolescents who started puberty blockers and had a prior gender dysphoria diagnosis.
Yeah. I mean, I would guess, hundreds of thousands at this, but I could be wrong.
Million sounds great.
Yeah. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
The Media Matters will have fun with that clip. Who are you going to trust when they're telling you the numbers? So that's one of the issues.
One of the prevailing arguments that conservatives have been fronting as a way to, let's be honest, obfuscate their transphobia has been through
This important report from a Daily Wire.
I'm so tired, Facebook or fucking YouTube. Holy shit. Can you please, is there like a setting that I can do that's like every time I full screen, like fucking Jesus. Where was I? Fuck, see, and that distracted the fuck out of me. Right. The argument, so something that they have been kind of concern trolling about when it comes to trans people, through their campaign, they've been trying to target trans healthcare providers and kind of trying to find a way to justify the refusal of medical care to trans people. They've gone about this in violent ways, which bear out with, bomb threats to children's hospitals, amongst all the other things that they usually end up doing. That sort of stuff. They do it in terms of, sorry, I'm just fixing this really quick. They do this in terms of, we just watch libs of TikTok and then kind of target teachers and any kind of like safe haven that one could have as a trans person, as a not as a non-heterosexual cis person, whatever. They've made sure they've been making this attempt to basically make living in the United States, living in any kind of community, just that shade of difficult enough to get you to go back into the closet, right? And a part of that, as we said, was a line of attack that they've been using lately has been the administering, I guess, of puberty blockers, of hormone therapy. Now, puberty blockers and actual hormone therapy are a bit different in that one is testosterone and estrogen pushing you towards certain development, whereas puberty blockers are the basically pausing of your development. But the difference is kind of lost on Matt Walsh and those like him, because they're not really interested in the difference. They're interested in making sure that trans kids get nothing. They don't get any kind of care. They are left to develop how they would like to not develop and deal with the consequences later if they want to transition. And even then, Matt Walsh and the rest of them aren't actually supportive or really would tolerate a world where trans adults existed. They have no interest in trans adults existing, as we already saw with the Vampire D in chat over here. Anybody who's an adult who's like, not like basically a normie white guy is like a groomer to these people. So like, at the end of the day, they come about this with one simple singular goal, and it's to make trans people as uncomfortable and unintegrated into our society as humanly possible. A way they've gone about that is through the ostensibly scientific route. There's always the like science concerned people who, they're just concerned about these sorts of things. And I saw this, I think this popped up on one of the I think one of my like Google feeds or whatever. But apparently there are a not huge study, but a study. It's a study. It's real. Done by a cardiovascular group. I guess found that people who take hormone therapy have a higher propensity of risk for certain cardiovascular issues. So let's go take a look. I want to hear this from the angry horse's mouth. So let's kind of hear how Matt Walsh frames it, and then we're going to actually read the article really quickly. It's not that long, so let's go.
This important report from Daily Wire: transgender patients who undergo hormone
this is only a 3-minute video. I'm stupid. We don't need all this speed.
therapy have a significantly increased risk of serious health problems such as stroke, heart attack, and
right.
pulmonary embolism.
Would be helpful if you could see.
A new study presented at an American College of Cardiology conference found that transgender patients who take cross-sex hormones had an increased risk of dangerous blood clots that can create blockages in the brain, heart, and lungs. The study found the subjects had nearly 7 times the risk of stroke, 6 times the risk of the most...
I also, by the way, there's also a reason why I said we're going to read the article later. And that's mainly because I'm not 100% secure in the idea that Matt Walsh is going to read all of it, to which there's some nuance to it. But I'm just not sure if he's going to adhere to that nuance.
Severe type of heart attack, nearly 5 times the risk of pulmonary embolism compared to those with gender dysphoria who never used hormone therapy. Dr. Ibrahim Ahmed said it's all about risks and benefits. Starting transitioning is a big part of a person's life and helping them feel more themselves. But hormone replacement therapy also has a lot of side effects. It's not a risk-free endeavor.
So, like, literally every drug you've ever taken. Understand that, like, the stuff that he's describing also, you can usually find as possible side effects to really a lot of over-the-counter drugs. Drugs in general, there's always risk to taking any of it. So also keep that in mind.
Who would have thought? Who would have thought just injecting hormones into someone?
I knew it. This video is so short. There's no way you could have read all of it.
To try to bring their body into a line with their perception of themselves.
Imagine.
Who would have thought that it would have...
Imagine. Matt Walsh, who wears glasses and wears a flannel shirt. Who thought that people would align themselves physically to match how they feel mentally?
Catastrophic long-term health effects. So everything we've heard from the media and from the medical establishment, they've been insisting this for years. They've been telling it to parents and kids and patients also who are not kids.
See? Notice that. They'll scream and screech all day about how it's only about the kids, how they're only interested in minors, how this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, he'll throw that little dig in because he doesn't believe adults should be able to choose this for themselves. No. Adults can't choose to be trans. Unacceptable to Matt Walsh.
I'm saying it's entirely safe. It's completely safe.
Literally no one's ever said that before.
It's all nonsense. They are lying.
I think like I had this conversation also last week with somebody where we were talking about kind of the effects. And I think I mentioned that as of now, at the time that we were talking, and that was like Thursday, this article came out on the 23rd, which was, when was that? Oh, it was actually Thursday. So we didn't actually see it until like just now. But up until that moment, there really hasn't been any long form studies in terms of the risks or the side effects. There are like some studies, but most of them point to pretty uninteresting what's the word? Side effects. Like none of them really point to anything that's like, oh yeah, this is like dangerous. It's like, there's a few changes that might happen when taking puberty blockers, but like nothing super crazy, nothing that like anybody would, that like doctors would feel concerned about.
Always been saying they couldn't even, there's no way for them to know that in the first place, because this is experimental, what we're doing right now.
It is?
And it's never been done on this scale, anything close to this scale before in history.
We've given people hormones
and so the people that we're doing it to now, they're undergoing the quote unquote medical transition.
Right.
They are the test subjects. So we know to begin with, anything they say about it's safe, it's long-term, there's no way to know that. You can't possibly know that.
Well, yeah, you would, again, all evidence so far points to the analysis that hormones and puberty block, all this stuff isn't that harmful. That obviously there are going to be side effects. I think with this study, it's like, yeah, there's obviously side effects. There's side effects to surgery. There's side effects to there's side effects to everything. There's side effects to Advil. There's side effects to Tylenol. Like, all of this stuff always had side effects. The question is, like, how dangerous is it?
However, we can know, again, using our common sense, that it's obviously dangerous to do. And there are consequences. Anytime you put a chemical into somebody's body, there are consequences for it. It's never consequences. So whenever you hear a claim, there's no problem at all, no consequences, that's a huge red flag. Run the other direction. Because there are always going to be consequences.
Wait. Consequences or side effects? Consequences are consequences is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Like, consequences is literally anything. The consequence of you taking estrogen is you get big titties. But, like, does that mean, that sounds bad, but what if you wanted big titties? Then that's not a consequence. It is a consequence, but you're like, yeah, it's a consequence I want. Like, okay,
there are side effects to taking Tylenol. There are dangers of taking Tylenol. So
yeah,
and when you're injecting hormones,
so it's almost like hormones are like everything else
obviously it's not a risk
medicine does.
Not anything close to that. But now, since we've been doing this to people for at a pretty large scale for several years now, that's when we're now going to really start to see. So now they have, they've got their crop of test subjects.
More people,
and now we're starting to get the results. And this is
okay. Cool. I figured he wouldn't provide the context, so I will. All right, let's take a look really quickly. This isn't a very long article either. Okay, but I'm not going to read all of it. We're going to move down. The current study is the largest to date, examining the cardiovascular risk of gender affirmation therapy in this historically understudied population. Previous research on hormone modulating medications. By the way, this is the exact study. It's the American College of Cardiology. This is the exact study I was able to find, luckily. The current study is large focus in these populations. Long-term hormone replacement therapy has been associated with an increased risk of breast cancer, stroke, and blood clots. Okay. Actually, I should read the sentence before that. Previous research on hormone modulating medications has primarily focused on younger women using hormone-based birth control or on older women following a hysterectomy or during menopause. In these populations, long-term hormone replacement has been associated with increased risk of breast cancer, stroke, and blood clots. Then out of context, that sounds very bad. Researchers retrospectively examined rates of cardiovascular events in 21,000 people with gender dysphoria from a national database of hospital records, to whom 1,675 had used hormone replacement therapy. Wow, that's a very small batch. Typically, people assigned male at birth received estrogen, and people who assigned female at birth received testosterone. Overall, the results found hormone replacements were associated with higher rates of cardiac events, mostly related to dangerous blood clots, but were not associated with higher rates of death. It's all about, quote, it's all about risks and benefits. Transitioning is a big part of a person's life, helping them feel more themselves. I think he already read this in the video. People feel good. In the study, people with gender dysphoria who had ever used hormone replacement saw nearly 7 times the risk of stroke, nearly 6 times the risk of ST elevation myocardial infarction, the most serious type of heart attack, and nearly 5 times the risk of pulmonary embolism, compared with people with gender dysphoria who had never used hormone replacements. Hormone replacement therapy was not associated with any increase in deaths from any cause or with increased rates of atrial fibrillation, diabetes, hypertension, hemorrhagic stroke, or heart failure. God damn, these are big words. Both estrogen and testosterone are known to increase the clotting activity of blood, which could explain the increase of clotting-related cardiovascular events. Researchers said those taking hormone replacement therapy also had higher rates of substance use disorder and hypothyroidism. Quote, looking at a person's medical and family history should definitely be part of the screening protocol before they even start hormone replacement therapy. So, I know I'm reading actually probably a little bit more than I was going to initially, but notice, so the way they also did this study was going through like records over a like what seems like a maybe 10, maybe 5 years. We don't know exactly what the what the parameters were basically, but obviously they went back. They didn't start doing this in like 2023 or over the last couple of months. This is over a longer stretch of time, and back in the past, right? But also what it seems like, also a key to this is that they didn't factor out people's medical history and people's families history. And we'll also see later they also didn't factor out another a couple other elements that I think are important. So while these numbers are like, oh, okay, so it seems like hormone therapy could that could lead to some bad outcomes. Granted, it was only out of the 21,000, there was like 1,600 something. But it's not. If hormone therapy has severe side effects, then obviously we need to find a different way to treat those people, to get those people to the place where they're at. But let's just keep reading. So let's see. One limitation of the study is that it only accounted for whether individuals had ever used any type of hormone replacement therapy. To better inform clinical decisions, researchers said it would be helpful to assess whether the duration of treatment, the age at which be helpful to assess whether the duration of treatment, the age at which it is initiated, or the type of hormone therapy used affects the risks. I quote, I'm curious to see the method of administration. Alters the outcomes. Is one way of giving hormone replacement therapy better or associated with a lower risk of cardiovascular outcomes? If so, then we should focus. Oh my God. If so, then that should be the focus of how we give these patients their hormone replacement therapy going forward. So also depending on how they actually give it, and again, when, like, all these sorts of things are all going to factor into how these drugs are affecting people. So in addition to considering ways to mitigate potential cardiovascular risks before starting hormone replacement therapy for individual patients, researchers said it will be important to continue to study potential long-term cardiovascular and other health effects of gender affirmation therapies as the use of these therapies become more common. So, in summary, the actual study did not control for certain factors that I think are pretty important. You do kind of want to have clean, or at least as clean as you can get, medical histories, along with better data in terms of being able to differentiate between different amounts of use and different amounts of application of these drugs. But, and like, this shouldn't really be shocking to anybody. If you've watched Matt Walsh, it shouldn't be super shocking to find out that he's not super interested in that, is he? Mostly, I get the sense that Matt Walsh saw the headline, saw those numbers, and that's it. And that's all he presented to his audience. He only presented up to the point, let's see, I bet I could actually find the point at which he stopped. Because he said, no. What did he say? Let's see. I remember him. He quoted all the what's it called? Yeah. Where did he stop quoting? Because I know he quoted the helping them feel, because he quoted this like a bit, starting transition is a big part of a person's health, all this stuff, right? Because at the end of the day, what he wants to identify is like doctors who are like not thinking the science through. They're not thinking about, oh, thanks, I'm Idaho. I appreciate that. But he's not he wants to put you in the mind state of like, oh, these doctors, maybe they mean well. Maybe. But like, they haven't done the science. They don't know the side effects. This stuff is dangerous. They're putting kids at risk and all the rest of this stuff. When, if you read the article, we read most of it together. It's kind of like, we need more information. We need to find out if the results that we initially found aren't being biased and kind of pushed in certain direction based on factors that we didn't account for. At the end of the day, any study without like control groups, or any study that doesn't, like, at the very least attempt to bring in line all of its like patients or all of its data set, is, I'm not going to say like, it's not going to say like awful or like not good information, but it's incomplete data. And even in this article, like, they make it very clear that they need more data and that they need more specific and more like tuned in data. But again, you know, Matt Walsh isn't interested in that. And if you might be a you know, if you might be like a Matt Walsh viewer or anything like that, I only implore you to ask yourself, like, why did he leave this part out? Like, I get that he left in the like, oh, it caught it, you know, people who were on like hormone therapy were, you know, 6 times this, 5 times this, 7 times that, whatever the numbers were. I don't remember off the top of my head, but like never told you like also the people who came out with this report. And really, it's not really a report. It was a presentation, it looks like. But like even the people who studied this came to the conclusion that they're like, we found these factors, but we didn't control for anything, so we need to do more tweaking and stuff. So it's like, the question I just want you to ask yourself is like, why was that left out? If he's really concerned and interested in the medical consensus, the medical opinion of any of this stuff, then why did he leave out the part where they said they don't have a definitive answer? And why was he so fast to jump on his definitive answer, the one that he's been saying this entire time? So always keep that in mind. Always keep that in mind. You know the thing, you know, the thing that they tell, you know, like at the end of all YouTube videos where they tell you to like click on one of these like things to watch more videos. Yeah, I've been meaning to film one of those. So that's what I was doing. I was just setting it up to film one.